Welcome to the second episode of our fundamental analysis lessons. If you remember, in our first lesson we looked at what financial statements are, how and why they are prepared, what to pay attention to while preparing them, and why they are so important. Today, we roll up our sleeves and step into the kitchen of the real work. Yes, today we are going to learn the most famous document in the financial world, the one investors love the most and the one that affects stock prices the fastest, the income statement. You might be asking yourself, why do we start specifically with the income statement? Why not the balance sheet or the cash flow statement? The answer is very simple, because this report is the heartbeat of a company. When you buy a company's stock, you are actually becoming a partner in its future earnings. And the story of those earnings is written exactly in this document. By the end of this lesson, when you look at any company's income statement, you will no longer see scary numbers, but a story. Where do they make their money? Where does that money melt away before it reaches their pocket? And most importantly, you will be able to answer the question, is this company really making money, or is it just creating an illusion? As an important note, don't forget that the lesson you are watching right now is part of a series, and I add all episodes to the playlist on my channel called Stock Market Lessons. If you want to gain deep knowledge in this field and truly develop yourself, make sure to go to that list and watch all the videos one by one. If you're ready, let's begin. What is an income statement? Imagine that you are shooting a video. In that video, events happen over a certain period of time. There is a beginning, a flow, and an ending. The income statement is the video of a company's financial life. The other report, the balance sheet, is a photo. It only shows the situation at a single moment. But the income statement tells us about a period, a slice of time. This document shows us that Company X sold this much product from January 1st to March 31st, meaning over one quarter, spent this much in expenses, and ended up with this much money left. The purpose of this document is just one thing, to show whether the company is profitable or not. Now let's learn how to read this document. Reading an income statement is like watching a waterfall flowing from top to bottom. At the very top, there is big money, and as it flows downward, various expenses are taken out of it, and at the very bottom, we are left with net income. Let's go through this journey step by step, but at the same time, I would really like you to close your eyes and visualize that waterfall in your mind. At the very beginning of the document, on the top line, we see revenue or sales. In financial language, this is called the top line. This is the first money that enters the company's cash register. No expenses have been deducted, no taxes have been paid, no employee salaries have been paid. It is simply the money paid by customers. As an investor, the first question you should ask when you look here is revenue increasing compared to previous quarters and years? If a company's revenue is not growing, it means that company is not growing. Right below revenue, we see a line called COGS, which stands for cost of goods sold. This is the direct cost of producing the product that is sold. For example, Apple sells iPhones. The screen, the battery, the chip, the salary of the worker who assembles it, all of these are COGS. Without these costs, the product would not exist. This is where our first math operation begins. When we subtract COGS, the cost, from revenue, the income, we are left with what we call gross profit. Why is this number important? Because it tells us how valuable the company's product really is. If a company's gross margin is high, for example around 60 to 70%, it means the company has pricing power. Simply put, a product costs $10 to make but can be sold for $30. If this margin is low or decreasing, it means the company is struggling with competition. Either its costs have increased or it cannot raise prices due to competitive pressure. To calculate the gross margin percentage, we divide gross profit by revenue. For example, if a company's revenue is $10 and the product costs $7 to produce, then gross profit is $3. When we divide those $3 by $10, we get 30%. Even though our waterfall keeps flowing, clean money has still not reached our pocket. Because if a product brings in $10 of revenue and costs $7 to make, we cannot just take the remaining $3 of gross profit and go home. There are other expenses that must be paid from that gross profit, such as operating expenses. We produced and prepared the product, but we also need to sell it. We need offices and stores. We need managers. All of those costs are collected here. For example, R&D, which is money spent on research and development for new products. S&M, which is sales and marketing expenses, office rent, accountant salaries, the CEO's bonuses, and other general and administrative expenses grouped under G&A. We will cover each of these concepts in detail in future lessons, but for now, we need to recognize them as they appear in this statement. As we continue reading, the next concept we encounter is EBIT, also known as operating income. Operating income is what remains when we subtract operating expenses from gross profit. It is also called EBIT, which stands for earnings before interest and taxes. This is very important because this number shows us whether the company's core business is profitable or not. As we keep reading, the next concept we see is EBITDA. You have probably heard the term EBITDA very often. Especially startups and fast-growing companies love to highlight this number. Its full name is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Analysts love this metric because it allows them to compare companies in different countries with different tax systems. EBITDA is not real cash. As the famous investor Charlie Munger said, EBITDA is earnings calculated without considering expenses. A company can be positive on an EBITDA basis, but after paying bank interest and accounting for equipment depreciation, it can still end the day with a loss. That's why EBITDA should be looked at, but it should never be trusted blindly. And finally, we reach the bottom of the waterfall. Up to this point, we have paid interest to banks, paid taxes to the government, and covered other expenses, so what is left? What remains is called net income. This is also known as the bottom line. This is the clean money that belongs to the owners of the company, meaning us, the shareholders. We must never forget that as investors, we do not buy the entire company, we only buy shares of it. That's why a company earning a total of $1 billion does not tell us much by itself, because that money does not all come into our pocket. What matters to us is how much profit falls on each share we own and how much income we earn per share. That is exactly why we take the net income at the bottom of the statement and divide it by the total number of shares outstanding to get the famous metric called EPS. This is one of the concepts you will hear most often on Wall Street, in the news, and in other sources. For example, when you hear Apple beat analysts' EPS estimates, this is what they mean. The tragicomic part of the story is that not a single number in the income statement means anything on its own. For example, in the sentence, the company earned $10 million this quarter, we don't know whether that is good or bad. To know that, we need to compare. There are two key terms here, YOY and QOQ, meaning year over year and quarter over quarter. These concepts help us compare a company's financial performance across years and quarters to understand whether things are improving or getting worse, but the story does not end here. In the continuation of this series, we will analyze these concepts in detail, just like all the others. Today, we learned how to read a company's report card. You now know the path, that waterfall, from revenue on the income statement all the way down to EPS. You know that looking only at revenue is not enough, you also need to look at the quality of net income. This is the backbone of fundamental analysis. In our next lessons, we will analyze the terms inside this report more deeply and learn how they connect with other financial statements. But for now, open the quarterly report of any company and try to find the lines you learned today. Trust me, those numbers will already look much clearer to you. On the other hand, before saying goodbye, I would like to mention that if you want to receive up to $30 worth of free stocks or cryptocurrency, you can register on the QuantFury platform using my invitation code through the link I pinned in the comments and claim your gift. And if you enjoy my videos, you can also support me by buying me a cup of coffee through the other pinned link in the comments, which will help boost my motivation to keep making these videos.